fold me up and shove me in a furnace.
That's gotta be such a high temperature you would need to burn a body at.
Or just sizzle.
I don't think you could just throw a body on a campfire and like get rid of it.
Wouldn't that smell?
It would definitely smell.
I think of that old
You know what would suck? What if
Viking,
it smelled
but-
awesome?
Yeah,
Ew.
What if it smelled so good?
I don't know if I have enough meat on my bones to actually like smell like a good steak,
Right.
but maybe. I mean,
It could be.
my last testament to the world is a nice smell of a low-grade beef.
Right. I love it.
That face.
Hey, everybody. This is Luke with This Probably Doesn't Matter. Sitting across the desk from me, as usual, is my lovely wife, Katie.
Hello.
Hi, Katie. And our guest today, the great Connor Dahlin, joins us.
Hey.
Hey, Connor. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
Hey,
Thanks for the invite.
We're happy to have you here. Connor Dahlin is a author,
Yes.
a poet,
Yeah.
and man of many talents.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We're stoked to have you.
Yeah. This is going to be awesome.
All right, guys. Connor, tell me this. How long have you been writing? I'm just going to
Let's
jump
dive
right in.
straight in.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to dive
Meat
straight
potatoes.
in.
That question,
How long have you been writing? That is the first on my list.
It is a decade as of now, actually, and that's what the upcoming show is about too. The decade. This next book that I'm putting out is kind of a celebration of a decade. Really, the story is that, man, I'm gonna try to sum this up. I'm the youngest kid, could never win at anything, like you can't do that. And after losing and getting second place for so long, my brother and I, my older brother and I, were in a creative writing class together, and we had the final portfolio handed to us, and he got a 90, and I got a 91.
Nice.
And that was like that was my first little token, and so I just started to run with it. And for a while, it was like, it starts with a lot of people with just writing about like.
Is this grade school? What are we talking?
This is high school.
Okay, you're in high school.
And I was always very wordy, but it really started with just like, I think everybody will write about like heartbreak and their exes or something.
Sure.
They try to write like some really cheesy poem or something. And so it started as more of like a journaling thing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't start taking it seriously until maybe 2013 is when it really struck me that I want to take this farther.
Okay.
So you could say that very serious and frequent writing has been happening for what is it now? 6 years?
Okay.
6 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And is poetry your main form? Are you? I mean, that's what we've heard you.
Yeah. I did
do.
academic for a while,
Okay.
and I would go to conferences and wear that fancy hat and stuff like that. It actually was a lot of philosophy,
Yeah.
and then I got turned off by it all, just with academia and poetry too, in a certain respect, but.
Now, when you say academic, you were writing essays and.
I was writing essays and I was going and doing talks at like conferences, undergraduate conferences, and eventually poetry came up in the mix because I was sick of trying to control what I was saying, and I wanted people to interpret for themselves. I didn't want to be so anal to the point where I'm like elitist over how I want people to look at what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And so poetry was that kind of way where it's like, I can no longer give a fuck about how it's interpreted.
Sure.
Like, take it however you will.
Sure.
And that was very freeing, but that came as a double bind because there is the academic poetry people where they bring you into residencies and they tout you up, and they are all like talking about, oh, the flower smells like this, and this is the taste of a pear. And they were telling me that I wasn't doing it right because I didn't sound like this traditional, academia idea of what poetry is categorically. And so, I was in that world, and I worked for the college, and I did, I went around and did what they wanted me to do with philosophy and poetry. And then when I got out, I went like anarchy. they gave me titles. They made me a poet laureate, which was actually my first radio interview.
What does that mean?
The poet laureate is a designated title of the person who speaks on behalf of the arts.
Okay.
So when they have an artistic occasion, they bring that person in to represent it.
Okay.
So
this was for a specific group.
This was for the University of Wisconsin Stout.
Interesting.
Now, did you go to college?
Yeah.
Where at?
That's where I finished, was at the University of Wisconsin Stout. I did college over in Athens, and that's where all the philosophy came from. And that's why they're like, oh, you studied philosophy in Greece. Here, go to this conference.
And is that still the stereotype? Like, if you want to go study philosophy, you gotta go.
Athens.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's been hanging on for a long time.
Yeah. It's a real like coin label, Like,
interesting.
I've seen the Mediterranean Sea, thus I am like deep and sophisticated.
You know what's going on deep down.
I earned the beard, just like Socrates or something.
I like it. I like it.
So they kind of wear you out like that. So if you just, you studied something and then you see all these people giving you kind of a false popularity, like giving you a kind of title, and it feels too controlled. It feels too categorical.
Now tell me that, how does it feel? I mean, not to get too far into it, but I mean, did you in some way feel like a fraud, like you're given this title just because?
So get this. You write an amazing joke, and all of a sudden people are putting you up on this pedestal. Like you're like,
I can only dream of doing that, but that sounds great.
That's double-ended. That's double-ended because then all of a sudden it's like you can't even be a person anymore. You are now this kind of title, and now people only talk to you as if you are the comedian. What if you want to talk about something else?
Sure.
What if you want to be something else?
Sure.
So they kind of like already have a pre-programmed idea of what you are because of some name. That's it. So I'm not going to talk about like regular things with the philosopher. I'm going to talk about,
because you don't shit, right?
Well,
just joking. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't shit. I don't wipe my ass. I don't, like.
Well, that sounds like a hygiene problem, and we can get that all taken care of for you. No, I'm just okay.
Let's argue.
It was a
toilet paper
metaphor.
But yeah,
it's
the same thing with fame. A lot of people want this kind of aspect of fame, but they don't understand that once they get it, they won't be treated as a person anymore. They'll be treated as somebody to get something from.
Sure.
Sure. I would see this with even like the chancellor, or think of like a representative of the state. You think anybody can walk up to you and not try to get something?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
I've heard, the world of podcasts is great because you kind of get to know some people on a more personal level talking about that. And I know that's a common frustration with a lot of people who are in a position where it's anyone who approaches you, they have some sort of angle. Of course, they're trying to get something ultimately. And I can't imagine not being able to make new friends, because you'd be suspicious of everyone that you spoke with on what their angle was.
I just think of typecasting.
Yeah.
You're typecasted.
Yeah, exactly. That's brutal. Okay, so you're a transplant then. You're not from the Wenatchee Valley.
Arrived 2016.
First time.
Never had been to the Pacific Northwest and didn't know a soul in the state.
How'd you wind up here?
Nice. Yeah, I took on a gig, and all I knew is that I wanted to get out, and people mentioned that this Western culture would be more fitting for what I had to offer.
Yeah.
And so I just I bounced around a bit myself, and so I was used to doing something very independent and just figuring it out. And so I was like, okay, I want to not be at my parents' house. I don't want to be around these people.
That's fair. That's
okay.
fair. Love my parents. I don't want to live at their house.
I mean,
either.
of course, there's a lot to be grateful for, but something different.
Okay.
And it was kind of a risk. But yeah, I just heard the name. The choice was either Bellingham or Wenatchee.
Did a little research?
Yeah, and what I was told was that Bellingham was more of that college town feel in a certain way. A younger crowd is a big presence there, although there is a lot more, I know. But
it'd be a more left lefty hippie sort of thing than here.
And
for
I
sure.
was hearing that, but the big word that came out to me about Wenatchee was that they said it's got community, and that was something new to me because I had just gotten out of a college town, you know, so that didn't sound so appealing.
Sure.
And also the idea of being dead center in the state
Yeah.
and having access to all these other areas that I've
Right.
never been to, that sounded more, you know.
And the other
Totally.
thing that you can preach till you're blue in the face on Wenatchee is as far as outdoor recreation and
Oh,
anything
yeah.
like that.
No,
Man, you
I-
can't beat this.
I was
area.
sold.
Now-
This is so cool.
The teaching thing?
Yes, a lot of it is,
Or whatever that
but
is
this
to
is
the high
generally
school.
gonna be you are taking a stipend to be a full-time volunteer.
Okay.
So that could be doing where you're taking care of the land or building trails, or it could be that you are working with a nonprofit, and that can be any nonprofit, provided that they have an agreement with
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
the organization, the national.
Doesn't the high school do something with
Take on tutors that are
Yes.
hired through 'em.
I
Yeah.
knew
Is that what you
someone who
wound up
did
doing?
that.
I was working as a administrative person for the technically,
Okay.
and I was hired to create an adult literacy program. So they really went on my writing background, my marketing background, to bring me in there to kind of make a program and make it self-sustainable so that when I left, it was fully functional.
That's cool.
And when I was done, I was like, okay, do I jump ship again and do this whole wandering thing again? And for whatever reason, the Valley just stuck on me. And it was weird because ever since I've been learning how to stay instead of how to run, you know, because the instinct has been continue.
I think there's almost something spiritual about this valley.
Yeah.
It is as
It keeps you.
Oh, I said, I went off to college in Denver and I loved the city. I mean, I loved it there. And I was like, I'm never going to move back to Wenatchee. And then there was one year I came back and I was like, I just miss it. Like,
They call it the Wenatchee curse.
there
is what
was,
they
yeah,
call it.
and I heard it
just
was even
missed
an
it.
ancient, native legend.
It
that
is,
if
and
you're-
I know
if
that
you're
whole
born
story.
here, you die here.
But we don't have to go over
Yeah,
it now.
yeah.
But there is a legitimate story behind it.
I didn't
Sure.
know that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely something finally like, hey, I need to.
It's
Like, I wanna come
important to
back.
get out. If you are a native who's born here, it is very important.
How
to get
many
out.
Oh,
times
yeah.
you hear about somebody from here moving to Seattle
Oh, you
for a
have
few
to leave.
years
You
and
have
then
to
come
leave.
back?
There's people, though, there are people here in this valley that have never left.
Yeah, and
course.
I definitely see that plenty. Not even like down to Ellensburg.
No,
Like,
yeah, like they've literally never left 30 miles within the perimeter. of
I've
this
seen
place,
the
so.
other side. I've seen East Wenatchee. It's plenty.
Have you been to East Wenatchee lately? They do weird stuff.
Yeehaw.
Have you ever been to Waterville?
So
Have
Connor,
you ever?
so you came here 16, you said?
Yeah, 2016. Yeah.
I like that. Let me talk to you a little bit about your writing specifically.
Yeah.
You have moved more towards poetry. I'm going to ask you a terribly stereotypical sort of question. Is about inspiration. I'm guessing you write about just kind of what is your life at the time, right? I mean, that's got to be it. You get.
Inspiration for me.
And we don't have to get too far into. I know.
I can answer
it's
this very
terrible.
stereotypically as well. It is a very sudden hit.
Yep.
Like you have to learn how and when to pick up the pen and to always make a lot of shit.
You're gonna roll me right into part 2 on what your writing process is.
Yep.
Because I'm as you know,
we can
I
group
have
these
been
two
trying
together.
I've been trying to work more on like intentionally writing, even in comedy world, like intentionally writing.
So you
So-
are effectively channeling something.
Right.
I cannot stand behind what I write often. Like you've seen some of these character pieces that I've done. That is not me. That's something else completely. And so
you got on. I hope I'm not stomping on anything, but you got on stage and read something about this character of a cat killer.
Yeah.
And it made me so fucking happy how uncomfortable everyone in that audience was while you were doing it. It was so good. I'm not singing your praise right now. It was so good.
and that's the idea. Like I wanted to embody this aspect of a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I just kind of went.
It was done well enough that people were not happy about
Yeah,
it.
and to know that you can channel that is a part of you, you know? The practice for me is kind of like, am I open enough? You know, what's that thing stuck in your head today? You know, why is it stuck in your head? Okay, see where that goes. And so it's more about me practicing actually writing it and just seeing what it is.
Right.
I think the big problem for writers of any type or for creators, whether it's comedy or whatever, is that they want to control where it goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a good idea. I think you just let it become what it becomes. And if you don't have a good word for it, fuck it. You know,
Sure.
This is the more that you're working on your natural ability to capture it,
Yeah.
it's only going to get better.
Okay.
And you have to create a lot of shit. Like you have to make a lot of bad stuff. You got to form the habit.
Yeah, I've gotten over the last 4 weeks now really used to bombing, and I think some of it has been due to stage presence and some of it's been due to material, and I'm almost to a point where I can just accept it because it really is part of I think the process. I wish I could get up on stage and do great every time.
Ooh.
I don't.
I want to introduce a topic here too, because I
Okay.
was listening to one of the former podcasts about, you guys just had a side note about like what poets do on stage, you know, and how it
Did we?
seems
Who are
it's
we
so
talking
much
to?
more personal. Like it would be hard to do from your guys' perspective because you're exposing yourself, making
Yes.
yourself very
I remember
vulnerable.
talking about that.
Were we talking
Lauren?
to Lane? We were talking to
I
Lauren.
think
Lane or
so.
Lauren?
I think
it was
so.
Lauren.
And I have the note that I'd like to add to that is that that's the high. Like
Yeah.
I can go up there and show these people like basically my outstretched asshole.
Yeah, there's a little
And
exhibitionalism.
they
in there.
don't like, and I say such offensive things, and they don't hang me from the gallows.
But it's like, for me, listening to it, for one, I love it, and I love your like how you read your stuff. But it's like, how do you think of that? Like, I do not.
you get a taste, and then you just take it too far, and that's basically it. Like,
I just don't think I think that way either. So either.
it's practice.
So-
Well, here's something we got into off mic is, you know, a lot of people who create art either have a substance abuse issue or they have a mental health issue.
Oh yeah.
And I can't believe how hand in hand it goes because I bet I have both.
The aspect is, and we touched on this a bit earlier, it's alienation.
Yeah.
This person feels that they are seeing something and experiencing something that doesn't fit in the mold of the modern world. So they have to do something that stands out. They're creating something. It doesn't make sense to create something. It makes sense to go work a job and come home and blah, 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 right?
Right, yeah.
So already, of course, there's going to be substance abuse issues. These people are lonely. They don't have anybody to confide in, you know? And they're trying to like find a friend through a page or through material that they're creating. You know, that's the closest thing they can get. So it makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. Like some of the art communities that I've been involved in, these people are like homeless half the time, you know, like they're always on the edge of absolute debauchery.
And it's I guess it's in some ways it's unfortunate that that's kind of just the narrative. That's how things go. But it is those people who are able to create just so far outside of the box where it will move. If you can move a group of people simultaneously, they're all coming from different walks of life. There's something special in that, and it's not a mainstream person that does that. Usually, it's a fringe. It's a fringe person.
Culture aspect too. The idea of the creator being a starving artist,
Right.
That is so ingrained to the point where even that person will practice that, and the people will enforce it on them. You know. I can't tell you how many art pieces that I've tried to hang up and people or sell at a show, and people will try to like penny me out of it, like make it cheaper and cheaper. Yet they'll spend insatiable amounts of money on garbage, you know?
Yeah.
And here I've worked on something, but the stereotype is that it's worth nothing and you can just shit on me. It's cultural. It's systemic.
I think, and this is coming from a sports arena. I mean, people, if they don't appreciate it, it should be free.
It's
right?
and it's
such
understanding value.
It's such a mental aspect of it that people think that, well, you're offering me a service, it should be free. You know?
When it comes to physical art, it's like if you want to take it home and hang it up, you know, that's something you're gonna live with that for
But everything has a
probably the rest of
value,
your life. So
know?
what is it worth it to see it every day, for the rest of your life? I understand a lot of people see the prices on physical art and it seems so high, but this is literally something you're going to use every day. So it's either worth it to you to see it. If it moves you in that way, then yeah, I realize you see $600, but what if you take that to $1 a day for the next 2 years? Well, there's $600.
Even if it's a lot cheaper too,
Yeah.
like sell a piece for like $50 or something like that,
Sure.
right? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's a bit too high for what this is. And it's like, dude, didn't you just spend that on a meal?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for your family today? Like
Right.
probably more than that.
Right.
I would say food and beverage are your biggest things that people don't think twice about spending money on. But like, think about a ticket, $25 a ticket. That goes towards my income. That goes towards the lights on.
It's interesting.
People are like, well, I don't want to spend that much money. It's like, well, do you want to come and enjoy what you're about to look? You
yeah.
got to pay to go.
And there's, I guess it's just, you got to identify what is important in your life. If, I know Katie and I, we like going out to eat and food. I was just having this argument.
I
with
just
someone.
told Luke
food is an
earlier
art
we
form in
spent
of
way
itself.
too much money on it.
If well prepared food, art. I'll take it as art.
It's funny because it's
It's
so
awesome. My
short-term.
belly, yeah, but it I understand that. My
gone.
my continually extending belly. I enjoy food
Investing
as
in
an
It's
your
art.
not
gut.
technically gone.
Yeah, I hold on to it for a while. Yeah. So we just did process. Give me nuts and bolts. Do you write every day? Do you set aside time? Is it a requirement?
I used to beat myself up about
Mm-hmm.
being every day because that's what they say is like, you got to be very hard about your habits. And eventually it was more like I've done it so much to the point when I know when it's coming and I know when it's not. So I will have dry spells.
Sure.
And I'll feel that out. I won't try to make myself. And some days I'm just feeling it and I'm going like writing a lot. So I'm more of a splurge than I am consistent. But that's my personality type. I don't.
Now, when you hit a streak, you'll get 10 different ideas? Is it one different idea that you write 10 different things about?
Yeah, and it kind of varies in that respect too, because sometimes it's such a hard punch that my hand literally hurts. Like I can't write fast
Right.
enough, and I like have made my hand carpal tunnel, like and 3 in a row. Like as soon as I'm done with one, then bam, then 3. Like I don't know when it's gonna stop and when it's gonna end. But the only thing I can feel is that I know when I have to let a dry spell happen. I can't always just force that. It's not something that I force.
I'm gonna hope that's what I'm in right now because boy,
You in a dry
it's
spell,
been a
honey?
month. I don't know. It's been a month of bad ones for me. But, I feel the same way. There are nights where I'll write 8 jokes that
yeah, just
that are
coming at
funny.
you.
But you
Yeah.
force it. I think sometimes you force stuff.
I might, yeah. But
It's gonna sound a bit clunky, and somehow the audience knows.
right.
Somehow it's like subliminal.
Well, and I got on stage just this last Thursday and was so like I didn't even want to be up there, and I realized immediately that I was talking into the microphone like I didn't want to be up there. I didn't even say hi to anyone. I was like, "Hey, I'm Luke. Okay, here we go." I had this.
Yeah.
I just sat through a 2-hour vacuum sales pitch. I had written 6 punchlines about the vacuum guy. I gave him one after another. Without any like real story, I was like, okay, I didn't know anything could suck and blow at the same time. Yada, yada, yada. I just did 6 punchlines without
gotta give
really
the story. You gotta, like, give
without
the
any
line to
good
it.
story, and
Yeah.
just then I got off stage.
I think a lot of it is
So
putting
bad.
yourself in the right place too.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
literal an
Agreed.
effort to go somewhere that you wouldn't often, as a point of mixing up your stimulus and like making you experience something that you don't normally experience.
Right.
Just watching people is been a frequent inspiration for me. Just I go sit at the bar by myself. Like literally, I tell people not to come with me. No, you can't come with me. To just sit in the corner like a little creeper and just watch people and just
yeah.
hear the ambience of what they're talking about. And that will set me off. Like, and it costs me a beer to do
Right.
that. And I'll that's the one that I make myself write, even if it's crap. I'll
Yeah.
write 3 in the span of that one beer.
Right.
And that's how I kind of like make myself do it.
Okay.
That's the closest thing.
I like that.
That's a
yeah,
good idea.
That is great. One of the things that I've been considering recently, because I obviously have the equipment to do so. I would love to sit down as if I was doing a podcast on my own. And I would never release these, but I would love to sit in front of this microphone and just start talking.
Just blurt.
As if I needed to entertain, 1,000 people with just me talking 30 minutes straight, and what I would do to do that.
Cherry pick it.
With minimal pauses, and then to go back through and listen to that audio and just, okay, here's what's worth it. And I think doing that as an exercise would be absolutely one of the most beneficial things I could do.
What gets tricky is like, you don't like that joke, but what if somebody else really
Yeah.
does? You know,
Yeah.
that's such a tricky thing.
The problem with Luke is he has a different sense of humor
I
than
do.
most.
And
I've told
that's-
him multiple times, like, I would love to see him in the Seattle market, even because I think Wenatchee is a very like small comic circle, even thinking wise, like how a joke goes, and it's very like small minded, like closed minded. So when you get to a bigger market, like more open minded to that sense.
Yeah, I think I have a little bit of a different beat than some of the other stuff that comes
I think
through
you
town.
find your niche, and then you just take that until you exhaust it.
Yeah.
You find that little thing that's yours,
Yeah.
and you take it home, you
Sure.
know, until you get sick of it, and then you find something else. But
I don't want, what I absolutely want to avoid is blaming audiences, though, because if I have dog shit material, I really do want to admit I have dog shit
You don't
material.
wanna heckle?
For instance, just last Thursday, I understand I had dog shit material. I didn't have anything good to talk about.
You were just mad.
I was kind of mad when I got up there. Although I did have a line about taking fast food home is the same as taking a date home at 2 a.m. They're both wearing greasy paper sacks, and I thought that was hilarious. They're both sitting in your passenger seat wearing a greasy paper bag. That's hilarious. No one thought it was funny. So
Still, no one's laughing.
I'm laughing right now. If it's not, if it's not any good, it's not any good. So I don't want to blame anyone else. So it's interesting, on market, and it's of course the same with poetry. And that actually segues me into the last question I had written down. Is as an idiot, I'm not smart. I'm not literary. You tell me from a poet's perspective. How do I tell good poetry from bad poetry? And my little no, here's my little caveat on it. Is it all interpretation or is it content?
I can only speak to this subjective.
Yes, of course. It
speak
is a very
objectively.
well, and that's one of the things that drives me nuts. Is it is such a subjective thing.
Yes.
But there has to be legitimate dog shit out there.
Here's my taste. If it is moving in the same traditional way as former writers have done it, if it sounds, or if it looks, or if it's talking about a lot of the same topics, if it sounds familiar and you think, oh, that is poetry, eloquence, that is false.
Mm-hmm.
The poet and the artist is always countercultural in my mind. So the traditions are the dog shit. So if it sounds really safe, if it sounds typical, that's garbage. It's like pop on the radio, It's too forced. Like, I'm trying too hard to be like the greats.
Formulaic. Sure.
I beat myself over the head to not be inspired by others. You know what I mean? Like, I am doing my own thing. And if people want to associate me with somebody, that's on them. I'm not taking specific inspiration. I'm focusing on originality.
Yeah.
If you have never heard something like what that poet has said, that is good poetry. If you see that they have a variety of material and it's not always the same beaten up topic, that is poetry.
Sure.
It's original, it has a life of its own.
Sure.
It's not some shell that they just shoved in, That's my taste.
That would
But
be your main filter.
I think that's a little, I might be a bit of an elitist here,
No.
like,
No.
little
And it
bit
would
of a
be the
purist.
same. In comedy, you call it hack comedy when it's a subject that has been beat to death. There's a lot of them out there. I'm not single, so this doesn't really make sense to me. But there's a million comedians right now doing Tinder jokes.
Yeah.
Of course, and it's because it's hilarious. There are a ton of funny things to talk about on Tinder.
Even if you take that topic though,
You
new
need
way,
to take it a real new way.
breathe new life into it.
Because of course, I would say in most things in life, you have love, right? Your relational life, your love life is always going to be one of the most talked about things. That's huge.
Yeah.
There are certain things that humans need, and relationships and love is one of them. I know there's people who live in the woods for 50 years by themselves and they die right afterwards. It's pretty hollow. So
Yeah.
you have to write about love. What else would you say what are your topics? What do you like to write about, Connor? And I'm going to make you read one of them. Before I let you out of here.
I like to write whatever makes people question something. My main motive, as I see it, and maybe other people see it differently, but my main motive is to kind of scratch at their certainty, you know? Oh, I know this topic, you know? I know everything about it. It's what my grandpappy told me, you know? And I come in and do like a linguistic hodgepodge to try to make them question some form of convention. And it can be sexual, like, yeah, that sexual piece,
Sure.
that erotica piece.
Oh
I
my
did.
God, my favorite.
That was, and when I made that, I laughed so hard. I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh, the first
what
time
have
I
I
heard
done?
It, oh,
What have I
it was
done?
the best thing ever.
So tell me, writing, you write contrarian then. You write
yeah.
against the norm.
I'm a cynic.
Tell me
totally.
this. Does writing like that, does it exhaust you or does it energize you?
It totally energizes me, man. Like I said, I get a high off of it. Like
You can tell in the way you read it.
Yeah, and when I come off the stage too, my heart is beating. Like I would need to walk up a mountain to get it like that, you know. I search for a very visceral kind of feel, a very raw kind of feel, because vulnerability, and this is bringing it back to that former topic, is something that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. We can't be vulnerable as a community. You only are vulnerable with the person who touches your pee-pee, and that's it. That's it. And it's like, no,
and sometimes not even with them. Yeah, it is wild.
Like, how strange of me to be completely honest and sincere with somebody I don't know. How weird that I can do that, you know? It's just itching at it, you know? It's not that I can't say it outright, but I can itch at it and kind of hint towards it. And that's the most I can do. And trust me, I get that frustration where I want to rip open my chest and I want to be like, look at these shitty ass organs, you know? And I can't share enough to actually jog people enough, you know? I can only kind of make them grumble, you know?
Sure.
That's where I'm coming from. I want it to be sincere. And when I hear other poets and when I hear comedians too, I know it's raw when it's sincere, when it's actually coming from a place that hurts them, you know, and they've dug it out of the deep parts of their guts.
It's the comedy that works long term is something that's actually...
People know it. They know what it is when they see it.
Right.
You can't fake that.
It's true, yeah.
And the same with musicians. That's the same of all the performers that come up on a stage, you know? Show your soul.
Yep.
You know, show what you are.
Yep.
Even if that's not clean, even if that's not desirable, you know? This is what I am. And they accept it. It's so weird because we're so used to not being okay. So it's that's the kind of trip from it, you know?
Well, I think even for me, it's pushed myself to be out of that. I've enjoyed listening to you, and it's pushed me out of that mindset.
That's actually very
And-
encouraging because I don't get that feedback very
Well,
often.
I've told Luke, I mean, I was super stuck up before Luke and I were together. Like, but that's just me not saying like I'm stuck
I
up.
brought
It's just
Katie
me, I'm not
down to
out of the
my level.
box. Like I didn't live out of the box. I was very like in perimeter of what I was comfortable with. And now it's like I live most of the time out of the box. Luke still sees me like, I don't think we should go that way. But he's like, no, it's going to be fine. But for even listening to what you have to say is very out of the box for me. And I really enjoyed it. Like, thank you. Like, I appreciate, and I'm super excited every time I go and I get to listen to you every week.
I'm glad that, because when I started, I didn't think that it was going to be well received, especially when I wrote like the cat death thing, right?
Oh.
Like, you think I'm like, oh, this is something I can share.
Yeah, first
you
of
know?
all, I
Like,
don't know if it was well received, but it was easily my favorite thing I've heard.
I think when you got off, when you did that, I looked at Luke and I was like, that was fucked up. Like, I remember specifically looking at you and being like,
is
wow.
that in that is it in the book you're holding?
You know what?
Because I might make you read. I might make you read too if it's in there.
Let me see. Actually.
Okay. First of all, plug your book, please.
Yeah. So here's the plugs. May 19th or April 19th.
Give me the
Oh, you
name
wanna-
of your
okay.
the name of your book.
This is the problem with this, and I'll have you retroactively put in a link when this is available.
Okay, okay,
Because
I'll go
I've
back.
been fighting with myself about the title, but the title is Deities in the Dumpster right now.
I like it.
Which the contrast is what I'm going for.
And what was the other? Because I saw your other name.
Grasping at the Gray was another one. And I have like literally a whole page
Yeah,
of
of
alternative
course you
names.
do.
It's like a baby, man. It's not born yet, and like I'm just thinking about all the names, and I can't like
Decide on one.
Maybe it's a Violet, maybe I don't know. Like, and
It's a
it's
nice
still
looking
changing.
book, yeah.
And well, this is thick, man. This is a big, like, I wanted a meat and potatoes piece because the only other book that I had was very small. It's a
Yeah.
chapbook.
So it's going to be for sale. It's not yet
Yeah.
for sale.
Yeah, it's not yet. This is the one that I brought. This is the first proof copy.
I like
and when
it.
you make books, you need to have so many proof copies. It's infuriating.
Okay.
Because
So we're a ways away from release.
that comma.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can't say, beating up a writer for when it's going to be done. That's a joke, like, yes, it's done. No,
So,
it's
ladies
not.
and gentlemen, look out for it because
Is
it's
it ever
going to come
done,
eventually.
technically?
It's never done, and you
Exactly.
arbitrarily say it's like I said, it is like the kid in that way where like they turn 18 and you're like, do you think that they know everything that they should know?
Probably
fuck
not,
It,
whatever.
Well, they'll figure it out. See what
Let
it
'em
is.
go.
Somebody finds a miscapitalized thing. Nice.
I haven't done a sound effect this whole time. I had to do one.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm wondering if I even put. Man, I've tried to like censor myself too because my most visceral stuff to put in a book is kind of edgy, like
Yeah.
really edgy to the point where I don't know if it's gonna follow me around. And there is an ethic
scary.
Oh,
of
you're
what
worried
you
about it.
publish.
Are you worried about it?
The general audience is a question. When I'm up on stage and when I'm in town and this sort of stuff, I don't question it. But
Well, it's not
people
going to follow you. It's not on paper.
people can do anything with what's published, and it can go
Oh, yeah,
anywhere.
absolutely.
Sure.
Now, tell me. Let's go a little nuts and bolts into this. Are you just self-releasing it? Do you have a distributor?
Dude, here comes my cynicism again. I do not like the traditional publishing industry.
Okay, of
I
course.
think that they censor. I think that they take way too much control over an artist's creation.
Sure.
And they have no they have no right to do so. So I was going down that alleyway with the academia, and here we'll publish you there, and publish you here, and that will give you more street cred, not street cred, but you know what I mean.
I hear what you're
and
saying.
instead, I was like, you know what? I can do this. I can make this. I know how to design. I know how to make cover art. I know how to
course.
do all this stuff.
Of course.
It's just a matter of me doing the work. It's like asking the plumber to fix your plumbing, Like, no, I can do this. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather fix my car. Thank you very much. Like,
Yeah.
I would trust me to do that instead. The only thing I do is I go through a publisher to physically print it. That's the thing I can't do.
And you can't do it from Vistaprint or something like that.
This
I mean,
is,
there's got to just be a way to print it.
Yeah, there's
right?
Lulu. There's Kindle. Kindle is now
They print.
running the Create space of Amazon, and yeah,
Of course.
So you
That's
can
good.
everything is ultimately going to go back to one of those big ones, but
Yeah.
that's great. So you can print it and own it on your own.
Yes.
Do you have I love talking nuts and bolts. If you
I
haven't
wanna
figured
buy
that out
one.
yet, so do you have like a strategy on how
I'm
you're
so
going
curious.
to
All those pages you're flipping by.
distribute it?
I
Do you
am
have a
my
marketing
own,
strategy?
See, that's the big reason people
You're
go
on
with,
this podcast. We have like a 30 listener base right now, so you can totally plug it.
I'm playing the long haul right here.
Yeah, we got some
I-
days.
I market it myself.
Sorry, did someone just like knock on the desk?
I think
Am I hearing
I did.
Things?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
it's fine.
I do my own marketing, and I travel a lot across the state. So
Yeah.
I literally go into stores and I'm like, hey, look at this. Or
Mm-hmm.
I go to an art show where I'm selling my art and I'm like, hey, look at this. These other artists don't have books. I got books, take a look at this.
For sure.
I basically market myself. I am the walking product. So it's not in the idea of getting famous. It's just in the idea of getting it out there. Like I want to focus on it being quality. I don't care about the quantity. That's not important. What I always try to tell myself, because I've battled with this for a while, is I'd rather be the real deal than a big deal. I'm not going to prioritize the fame and the outreach. Like I'll sell it here in town. I'll sell it in the central Washington area.
Yeah.
I put it on Amazon, but militantly, because Amazon takes a huge cut of whatever you put on there. And I don't really dig that either.
Just as a private seller, they do?
Yeah, it's because they have the brand name. And so people are looking on there. So they can manage to get a big margin of it.
Sure.
So, I'm just focusing on where it would work.
Do you have a website?
That's funny. I'm making it right now.
Do you own the domain?
Yes.
Go ahead and plug it. Long haul. We're going long haul here.
It should be Eclectic Human. That's what it should be.
Eclectic Human.
Eclectic, yes. Because I'm not only putting my books up there, but I'm also doing services for making books for other people.
You own eclectichuman.com?
I haven't put it into action yet.
But you own the domain?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I don't own it. It's available. It's available.
Okay, well, we're going to have to cut all this out. We're going to have to cut all this out because I don't want anyone to know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll cut it. I'll cut that.
How about this? I do not own a domain at this time.
There we go.
I have the tentative name of wanting to make my sole proprietorship Eclectic Human. If that's the name, then we can put it in retroactively later.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to... Is it available? I'm about to buy it right
I
now.
saw it.
Who's
I saw
gonna
it
buy
last
it?
time
I'm
I-
seriously
you.
going to buy this on the podcast so I don't have to edit this out. I'm going to buy it through Wix.
How do you spell eclectic?
ECLECTIC. I think I'm spelling it out loud. Can we actually pause it?
Right, everybody, and we're back.
Potty break done.
Potty break's over. Everyone can fuck off because Eclectic Human, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, I just bought it, so
It's
you're all-
owned, bitches.
you're all
Don't
shit
try.
out of luck. It is Connor's website as of right now. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to
Yeah,
come up
totally.
soon.
Yeah, it's in the works. As of
In the
today.
works.
We're going to build it. Okay. Connor, let's go straight in. Let's have you read it. Let's have you read one out of your book, which I kind of got you to plug if the title stays the same.
Yeah. And you can go to trending eclectichuman.com.
Eclectichuman.com
to find out more about
it's
what
gonna be
this is
ready in a
named.
couple days. We're gonna build your website.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all gonna happen.
So this is the mentioned cat death named
You want to talk about it at all?
illustration of insanity, and if we want to break it down a little bit, we can do it after.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta get in character.
Are you gonna scream? Do I need to turn
No,
your mic down?
I'll muffle myself, and that
No,
will
don't
seem-
do that. We'll
Don't
turn
do
you
that.
down
I'm
if
just
you
gonna,
need
I'm just
to.
gonna pull you down a little bit if I need
Just
to.
do it.
The coffee cup on the counter is full of blood. It was filled with the liquid misery of a stray cat. Its hissing and irate screech prompted the heat to boil over. Its hiss, that dreadful hiss. I'll show you who's boss. Best say your Hail Marys, you ungrateful piss. I'll give you something to hiss at. When I get like this, I feel different. I feel powerful. I feel invincible. I no longer feel meaningless, trapped, and as pitiful as I truly am. And so I thrashed that trash until it was trash. I cracked its bones while hearing its pitiful tones. I smashed its hideous face against the barren stone. My teeth flared out, my eyes bolted open, my ego restored with the sacrifice of one more. That cat will make a nice hat. Its meat a good stew, its death a fond memory. You don't travel without bringing back a souvenir, me papa told me. I threw its pathetic carcass in a plastic grocery bag, triple wrapped it, made sure to keep its blood 'cause I want to see its blood. I haul it home, remembering its shrilling tones as I fashion its damned corpse into proper form. Its fur for me pillow, its meat for me dinner, its bones in a pile, and call it me art. Lastly, its blood. Oh my, its blood. I can't take my eyes off its blood, and I put it in my favorite coffee mug, the one that says, "Have a nice day." And what a nice day it is. What a nice day it is for me.
Woo! Yes. Yeehaw.
So great.
I love it. So
Your
it's channeling.
reading, I love though how you put the character in there.
Cadence.
Yeah.
They can have a great poem, but no performance and no, like, they call it acting, but nah.
Where did that one come from?
So the story is that I've been involved from time to time with like goth girls.
Okay.
And for some reason, goth girls
Those goth girls.
usually have an infatuation with anatomy, blood, and guts, and they're the ones that like scary movies, you know, like horror movies, you know, gruesome. And I'm like, what is that? You know, like I don't want to see my organs. That's disgusting, you know. And so for me, it was channeling this feeling of I honed in on this feeling of frustration, of something not being right, and just not, you know, I think of art too, or I think when you're making something, or like when you're fixing, like when you're making an IKEA, you know, like when you're making the IKEA thing, or you're fixing a car, you just got this, the fucker, you know, do what I want. And that feeling is what I just focused on, and I tried to channel it, and just made that satisfaction a matter of blood, and that I can take whatever I want and I can do whatever I want just to like satisfy my completely frivolous desires, you know. And that's what being a psychopath is. And we all have that in us, you know. Every one of us can relate to that in a very little way.
Sure.
You know, it's in me.
Some
you
of
know?
us in more ways than one. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
some of us live that, and we all know it, but we don't make it. You know, we don't breathe into it. We don't.
It's that fine line between the front lobe, back lobe, whatever that is.
Yep.
The animal
We
brain
have
and the developed brain.
The Unga Bunga force deep within.
Of course.
And
Yes.
if you just live in that, then we're all just like bashing each other's heads for a bag of Doritos or something stupid like that. You know, it's mine. And that's why I kept saying me. That's why I say me so much in it, because I wanted to accentuate that it is all about me, what I want. I think of rich people too, you know. This is what I want. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to pay whatever it takes, you know. I'll buy out this whole place, make it the way I want, the way I want. 'Cause I'm the greatest, you know. Me.
I like it.
The ego.
Yeah.
Mad ego.
Oh yeah.
And that's
I get it
guess,
with sports.
the main battle is the ego.
Like
go
refs, God, I'm just gonna.
Let's not go there.
That's the main battle is ego. I like it. Okay. Again, you're
Did you just like burp?
no, I didn't. I was getting angry
He's
because
getting the bunga force right now.
feels it.
I
He's
was about to
got it
get
in him.
angry. The book title, maybe. Again,
Okay, here's the thing to plug. Online,
let's plug.
it can-
You have a book available.
You can find on Amazon, so you can look
Please.
this up, or you can Google search it. One is The Whispers of Wenatchee, and that is the book that I made that I didn't contribute to, but I edited and I published and I did everything except for write it.
Okay.
I compiled 34 local writers, short stories and poetry. This is bare bones, so this is not academic. This is what people genuinely write.
The
all the
Whispers
way,
of Wenatchee.
all the way from grandma Hallmark cards down to teenage drug debauchery. You have the whole mix of what people genuinely feel. That was the last project. You can find that online. Google search The Whispers of Wenatchee.
Okay.
The other one is going to be harder to find. It's my personal chapbook, and that's Uncertainly Formless. And it's hard to find because un/certainly space form/less.
Okay.
It was a complete avant-garde.
I thought my
like-
website was tough.
No, that was just the name of the book, and I wasn't trying to sell it like crazy. I just
Right.
wanted to make it what I wanted to make it. I wasn't thinking about the future. It's for like $7, you know, like I'm not pulling a profit off of that.
Okay.
But those are the two things I can plug.
Okay,
For sure.
I like that. This new book is going to be available on whatever title it is.
Yep.
And you're going to find it when the website is up.
Yep.
At,
And you can
and that
probably find
website
me-
was, what did we just buy?
If you look up CGDAHLIN, CG Dahlin, you're going to find it. Just look up, that's my pen name. The two other things I'm going to plug, I don't know how time sensitive
We just
this is.
bought Eclectic Human. So
Oh,
Eclectic Human
that's
is going to
it.
be
There
the
we go.
website. It's going to be exciting when it comes out.
The other thing is that on April 6th, I am performing a full segment at the Poetry Prowl in Ellensburg.
Okay.
If you're hearing this on time or if it's late. And
It'll be out by then.
also the performance at Radar Station, my own personal hour-long performance on April 19th. So it looks like April's going to be a performance month for me.
Cool.
Yeah, just look up CG Dahlin if you're listening to this later.
I like it.
Awesome.
Hey, speaking of performance, this is one of my favorite things to ask people. What is the worst mistake you've ever made on stage, Connor? Because I've been making a lot of them recently, so I just like to know other people's.
All right, so when I was in college,
Yep.
there's this thing called the zombie pub crawl.
Yes.
And it's a pretty Midwest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You dress up as a zombie, they give you drink deals. Mm-hmm. I was performing a rap, which is like
Like
a
an actual rap.
satire.
Yep.
Yeah, like hip hop.
Yep.
And I went up into this stage in this cafe, and I performed a piece exemplifying how great zombies are and how humans are actually really shitty.
Nice.
And the line was, it's basically, I'm paraphrasing, but since I'm a zombie, nobody can eat out your girl better than me. And I literally saw a mom take her two hands, push them over her little toddler's ears, raised her up, and just ran out of the establishment. And it's
my
in my
goodness.
head, like that is a mistake. That's the one that comes to mind because there was more children there, but at the same time, it's not a mistake because it's like, dude, you are overreacting.
Well, how would the
right?
kid know what that
They
means?
wouldn't.
And if you're on a zombie crawl, like, what are you
They-
doing
they
out in
wouldn't.
general?
They wouldn't
Like,
understand, but
No.
you know, you're always gonna be butting your head against like over censorship.
Sure.
You know,
No,
so
no.
that's what came to
That's
mind.
definitely
That's
a
funny.
graphic image to watch a mom.
I was like, whoa, man,
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
bit much.
That toddler has no idea what you just
I'm
said.
gonna protect you.
I
Get you
love
out of
it.
here in no time.
Yeah. Gosh.
I absolutely love it. Okay, so we're gonna go into this. All right, Connor, you are not exempt, even as
Rapid fire.
artistic as you are.
Nice.
Here it is.
Would you
This
rather?
is the lightning round. Okay, I'm gonna pull this way down.
I can't answer questions simply, but I'll try my best.
No, it's
always say
I
too
have
much.
I have hard ones in here too, actually.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hard. Okay, here we go. This is way down. Okay, Connor, ready? Blue jeans or khakis?
Blue jeans,
Okay.
no question.
Give up your love life or give up your work life?
I have no work life, so work
So
life.
we're giving that one up. Okay. Absolutely no body hair or covered head to foot Sasquatch style.
No body hair. I'm fine with that. I'll go
Completely
like full
bald.
monk. Yeah,
I
call me a
like it.
swimmer, whatever.
Okay, here we go. Be caught cheating or catch your partner cheating.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch them because then my ego can be kept.
Okay.
And your
I'm gonna do-
overall.
Gotta protect it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this out of order. I had two here at the end. Okay, we're turning the music off.
Wow.
I like the music, right?
It's
Like
fun.
a
It
jazz.
makes it exciting. But here's I'm gonna do these out of order. Would you rather know everything that people say about you, or have everyone else know everything you say about them?
Ooh.
That was gonna be my last question, but
I know.
I'm switching it because this is the last.
That's a
one's
lot
better
to
for her.
unpack.
Yeah. Yep.
I know my answer for sure.
I guess it's how much do you talk about people is really what
Yeah,
it is.
my intuition says that everybody knows what I say about them because I feel like I'm pretty safe in that category of things. Like if I do gossip, I feel like it's very like honest And
Yeah.
so I'm not afraid of it because it's what I feel. Like I'm not just trying to like pad conversation. So I think I'd rather go with that.
You'd rather have people know what you say about
Yeah,
them.
but
I can only imagine for me how painful it would be to know what people say about me.
That's just
That'd be
intuitional.
brutal.
But like I am curious about that. Like that would be a curious thing to know, and I think it would be painful to know because people are going to misunderstand you.
it'd
So I think
suck.
that's worse in my mind.
It would suck to know what people actually say about you all the time.
I think I would rather know that than what people say about me because I think people take me harshly.
The only thing you could
And I
say...
don't ever mean to be mean about it, but it's like my true
can't
feelings at
control
that
it.
point
That's the
come
problem.
out, and it's like
Right.
I can't ever tell that person straight on how I feel because it would be taken way too badly.
I just think there's some major room for self-improvement if you actually knew what everyone said about
That
you.
is the tempting part, but at the same time, the frustration
It
of
would
never
suck.
being able to actually accurately represent who you are.
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
That would be absolutely insatiable.
like you can't
would
change
suck.
who you are.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and here's what
I
I was
can
actually.
see it rolling.
This is gonna kill you because I was actually gonna ask you this right before, but I'm changing this to the last question, and it's pretty straightforward. Never read again or never write again.
Ouch.
Oh.
It's got to be the worst for you.
I would have to say, that is such a bad one, man. I'm going with my intuition, whether right or wrong, but never read again.
You never read again.
Because again, I mentioned formally in the podcast that I don't want to take direct inspiration, so thus I have reason to not
You
read.
could just
'cause
go
I'll just
completely.
go with it.
Yep.
And it's like, you guys read me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just
Like,
read what I'm writing.
That's brutal. Now
Which can
I
be
don't.
scary.
I used to read a lot more than I do now. I still try to. Well, I mean, in a day, whether it's online or not. That's the thing is I don't read a lot of physically printed books anymore. I do read a lot of articles. I read more articles online than I do like bullshit. I there's a lot of bullshit.
I'm
you
definitely
can
on
read
the side
online,
here,
but
dude. I have way too many books, and I'm a neurotic reader, and I read
yeah.
them all at the same time, and it's just a giant mess.
I
So
read
it
a
would be a
lot of
lot.
articles,
I can't even tell you the last time I read a book.
like a print book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's too
I
bad.
have to keep up the vocabulary, That's the part that gets me.
Right.
Is I really need that. I feed off of that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the...
That's a good way to look at it. I feel like I'm like, Luke says I have dyslexia of the mouth, which I've mentioned before. And that probably definitely stems from not reading enough to be
Gotta work on that vocab.
intellectually.
Yeah, just store it in there.
I'd try use
You're
the
close on a
intellectually
lot of
word.
words. You're just barely off on a couple.
Yeah, but like I'll talk and I'll be like right now I'm like.
Like is tough. I do.
I say like way
everyone
too
has
much.
a,
God.
everyone has a filler. Everyone has a filler.
My filler is like, and I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
God
tough.
damn it.
I don't know what my filler is, but I'm probably going to hear
Well,
it.
you're gonna hear.
I don't
it
think
as
you
soon as
have
listen
it.
to
I
this.
don't think you have a filler.
Okay, good.
I think
I've
you're
worked on
good.
it, Yeah.
There's a lot of. We've talked about this on most podcasts, but it's you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. Yeah, I have a friend who's
The vacuum guy the other night said,
you know.
Oh, that's... I was just going to
you know?
say that. If anything,
you know?
that's mine. Come
No,
on.
but he would be like,
You know.
he would say something of facts and be like, and then he would say something else, and then I'm going to tell you about this,
You just plug it into the outlet, that outlet, that outlet.
I have a buddy who's things like that and things like that and things like that.
Who's that?
Things
and all
like
that stuff.
Oh, I know who.
Champy McChamperson.
You know Champy.
Okay, you know.
Sheila.
I love it. I just did an again. So please check out thisprobablydoesn'tmatter.com. If that's not where you're listening to this right now, we have a show coming up March 22nd.
This coming Friday.
This Friday.
Oh my God, it's here.
It's the West Siders. If you happen to catch this, I'll go ahead and post this Monday.
You coming?
So
Actually, I was planning on it.
please do. Please do. I'm going to go ahead and post this Monday. So you're going to have one more day on the This Probably Doesn't Matter Facebook page. You can go throw a number in on that post between 1 and 500, and you might be able to win a set of tickets. 2 tickets are going to be raffled. Sure. Pick a number between 1 and 500.
You're gonna win 2 tickets.
I'm going to go closest to on that. So you're going to have one day by the time you listen to this. I'll draw it Tuesday just before midnight, I guess. Probably not, because I'm going to go to
Like
bed earlier
9
than
o'clock.
that. Yeah, I'm going to draw
Just
Tuesday
plan
at
on
9.
9 o'clock.
So go ahead and go get those. That's This Probably Doesn't Matter. It's facebook.com/This Probably Doesn't Matter is where you're going to find that link. And Connor, thank you
rock.
so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you,
This
thank
has
you,
been a
thank
ton
you,
of
thank you.
fun. You can see Connor at the radar station.
Every
on
Thursday,
Wenatchee
usually.
Avenue. Yeah, he's usually there on Thursdays.
Always fresh, always new.
Yeah,
check
and
it
it
out.
is usually new material. So be on the lookout for the new book. Go online and get some of those other books that he's plugging. We love you all, and please remember at the end of the day, all of this probably doesn't matter. Bye.
See ya.